Hey, everybody. Really exciting topic. One of the most pressing challenges in tech today around IoT security. We're going to unpack what that means for enterprises across the board, where the risks lie, and what the future holds for securing billions of connected devices. Rodrigo with Thales, how are you?
Very good, Evan. Thanks for having me here today. I'm very
Well,
excited
thanks
to
for being
talk to you.
here. Really excited to dive into all things IoT security. Before that, maybe introduce yourself and your division within Thales for those who may not be familiar.
Sure. So I'm Rodrigo Ferreira, Senior Vice President of Sales at Mobile Connectivity Solutions, what we call MCS at Thales. I've been with the group for over 20 years, working in 4 different countries in different roles, from software development to project delivery, management, and sales leadership. So today, I lead the North America business for MCS, working very closely with the connectivity providers and device makers, trying to help shape the future of what we call a connected, secure IoT. Right? I don't know, Evan, how much you know about Thales. Just giving a quick intro on Thales. Right? Thales is a global technology provider with over 80,000 employees across
Wow.
5 continents. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. We serve in markets like defense, aerospace, and cybersecurity and digital identities. We invest heavily in digital and deep technology innovations like AI, cybersecurity, connectivity, and quantum technologies. Right. So just to put it simple, right? I mean, Thales, we're all about make the world safer and smarter, or like we like to say, building a future we can all trust.
Love it. Great taglines. And you've seen the rise of IoT firsthand, can now connecting, hundreds of millions, if not billions of devices in the near future, collecting enormous amounts of data in real time. What are some of the biggest security challenges that you've seen arise firsthand?
Evan, just to start on the IoT, right? I mean, when we talk about IoT, I think most people would agree all the benefits that it brings to our lives, right? I mean, whether it's in automation manufacturing, or if it is real-time data collection in agriculture, or just making our homes smarter. So it's pretty exciting when we see what IoT can do for us, right? However, what we see is that many of those devices, they have limited capabilities. Security isn't built from the start, right? I mean, it's not by design, like we say, and that opens potential opportunities for attackers to find weak spots or gain unauthorized access, right? So there are a few areas that we believe that the industry needs to work on to make sure that the entire ecosystem is secure and can be trusted.
Definitely. And as we know, identity is the flip side of security, and weak authentication has been sort of endemic to IoT for some time.
Right.
How do we make sure that only secure devices are connected to our networks, especially with so many sensitive infrastructure domains out there, healthcare and energy and aviation and beyond? How can we get better at things like
Yeah,
authentication?
that's a pretty important point, Evan. Right? I mean, as I mentioned, some of those IoT devices, they have limited capabilities. You will be surprised when we talk with some of our players. Right? I mean, they are using just login and password to authenticate their device to the network, or the identity of that device is not secure, is stored in a secure enclave in the device, right? And having those weak authentication protocols, it makes it easier for attackers to impersonate the device and gain unauthorized access, or even worse, do like a full system takeover, right? So think about the power grid, or think about oxygen meter at the hospital, right? I mean, those are use cases that can have real life consequences, right? So it is really important that when we talk about the authentication protocols, that you use the strong cryptographic base identity verification, right? And making sure that that's properly securing the device, that you can make sure that that device, it is who it says it is before even get access to the network, right? And when we talk about all the data that those devices they are constantly collecting and quite often in real time, that data can also be extremely sensitive, right? I mean, think about your location or health metrics or even like a business criteria, that insights that help you to make decisions, right? So it is extremely important that on top of the strong identity verification, we also have strong encryption protocols, right? I mean, it is making sure that the entire data journey is secure, from the data collection to transmission and storage, right? I mean, at Thales, we usually say it's not a matter of if you get hacked, it's a matter of when, right? And if that happens, you need to make sure that that data cannot be tampered with, that data can't be accessed, that data is properly encrypted.
Got it. Another weak link in the IoT security chain is the update mechanisms that are out there. Certainly, many of these devices don't have update mechanisms, which is pretty scary. Others have pretty manual update mechanisms. So what can manufacturers or businesses, customers, do to ensure their devices stay secure and updated? Firmware gets updated over time, much like our Apple, handsets do.
Right. Yeah, that's another pretty important aspect in IoT security, right? I mean, as you mentioned, many of those devices they don't have those capabilities, right? And that's a pretty big risk, right? If a vulnerability is found, that device stays exposed for exploitation or malware infection, right? And I said at the beginning, right? I mean, security needs to be from the start and by design. It's not a matter of just launching a product. It's a matter of make sure that it's secure for the long haul, right? So I think the important points here for tech providers and enterprise is to deploy over-the-air update mechanisms in a secure way, but also think about the lifecycle management from day one, right? I mean, it should be from the beginning and think about the entire device lifecycle, how you're going to manage that.
Yeah, interesting topic. Another topic that you hear a lot about are new regulations, rules, laws to secure devices. And there's just a constant stream of updates in the US, Europe, every country having its own ideas about this. Is there any way to unify all of this across borders and countries and regions? Where are we with the standardization and rules side of IoT security?
Yeah, that's a good point, right? I mean, security, it's pretty broad topic, and let's be honest, it can be very confusing, right? And as you mentioned, there's like a regulations, there is different standards across the board. If we were to have a unified approach, for sure that can help in scalability, right? It makes it much easier for us to deploy that across regions or across different sectors. And some may argue that if you have a very strict standard, or if it's not well designed, that will prevent innovation, right? And that's where I believe that industry bodies or standard organizations that can come in, even in governments, to try to strike the right balance here, right? I mean, one great example that I can mention is the NIST 2022's framework for consumer software and consumer IoT products, because it gives like the right direction and clear direction on what should be implemented without preventing that innovation, right? Giving the flexibility for tech providers and enterprise to choose the best solution that fits their needs and to scale.
Got it. And in the midst of all this, the industry continues to innovate new services like eSIM. I'm a big fan. I have 3 or 4 eSIMs. Also new standards from people like 3GPP and GSMA. Maybe break down some of those new standards and also new technologies that you're really intrigued by.
Yeah, so recently we are seeing like lots of buzz around what we call the GSMA SGP 32, right? So that's a new specification designed for IoT. We did have those specifications for IoT in the past, but those that require pretty complex integrations across the carriers that you want to support, right? So the challenge that we had in the past is that an IoT device would either stay locked in a single carrier, or the carriers that they need supported had to be integrated across their backend, which made the management of connectivity pretty complex, right? Now, think about your phone or your watch. When you have that eSIM capabilities, there no need to be like a strong backend integration across the different carriers. You can basically enable that device in any of those networks. And that's what SGP32 is bringing to the IoT, is that flexibility for you to connect like different carriers, including private networks, without having to do those complex backend integrations. So what we've learned in our work with IoT at Thales is some industries, let's say utilities, they require connectivity resiliency, right? So for those players to think from the beginning which carriers they're going to use or how they're going to use those carriers or when to switch one to the other is with the previous specifications, they were pretty complex. With the SGP32, that makes it easier. So the entire supply chain from device manufacturing, deployment, and maintenance is much easier. So it's a pretty exciting development on the IoT connectivity. And we are seeing lots of traction these days in the market. So
fantastic. And what are some of the threats that you have your eye on, or the team at Thales has its eye on this year and over the next years? There's a lot on the horizon. You hear about quantum and other threats to encryption, but what's the top of mind for you and the team?
There's like a different topics, right? I mean, I believe that as the IoT tech keeps evolving and reshaping industries, there is no single player that, in my view, can tackle everything by itself, right? I mean, it's the threats are evolving, as you mentioned, like quantum. It is one, right? I mean, if you're doing like a data collection today to access those later on. So there's lots of concerns around the security, and that's where collaboration is very important across the different organizations, enterprise, tech providers to really tackle those risks, right? One great example that I can mention is recently the IoT Machine-to-Machine Council and Global Certification Forum. They formed a task force to explore a global certification for IoT. And here they're not looking only at the device, right? I mean, I think, as I mentioned earlier, security is pretty broad and can be quite complex. And it doesn't help if you have a very secure device, but your network or your cloud platform is not secure, right? So basically here, this task force is trying to look at those different components from the network, from the cloud platforms and the device. And that, in my view, is that holistic approach that we need, right? So there's much more that needs to be done for sure. I always say that we that are part of this connected future, it's up to us to build a future that we can really trust. So it is really important that we keep working towards that, to beat what the threats will evolve, right? The way that they evolve.
Yeah, sounds like the shared responsibility and accountability is required by all the parties. And what role does Thales MCS play in the mix? How do you see your role, and how do you help?
Yeah, so we, as I mentioned earlier, Thales is pretty broad, but specifically on MCS, we are working with the connectivity providers, device makers, by helping on two fronts. One is on the connectivity, how we make that connectivity scalable and easier and less complex, right? I mean, I always say, think about a lamp, how you can get a lamp and connect that in an easy way, right? We are focusing on wireless, right? So the way that we work in connectivity is wireless. And as you have those components like eSIM, or you have a secure element that you are putting there, you can actually use that component to increase the security, right? Use that as a secure enclave for your device identity, or to have your keys for you to access your cloud platforms. So that's the work that we have been doing at Thales MCS, working closely with those device makers to help them to perform the security by design, right? I mean, as they are talking they're, on the connectivity, how can we tackle those two fronts, connectivity and security from the beginning, in a way that we can really shape the future of connected IoT.
Well, wonderful mission. And just a fun question. If you had a magic wand and could wave it and sort of just change one thing about the IoT ecosystem today to make it safer, what would you change? What would you wish into existence?
You know, looking ahead, right? I mean, of course, the adoption of SGP32, it's pretty important, right? I mean, we saw in the past people trying to connect those devices in not a secure way, and that's a pretty big risk, right? So having a way for you to do remote provisioning and doing connectivity management in a secure way, or allowing the device to switch automatically, that's, for me, it's pretty important. But beyond that, there are other principles that people need to take into account, which is like strong encryption protocols that we mentioned at the beginning. Of course, embracing zero trust principles, right, to make sure that you don't trust anything. So security should be in every layer of your IoT ecosystem. And we are seeing lots of AI security-driven models, right? I mean, that's important. We always question who's going to win on the AI war, right? I mean, it's the protection or the attack. So the threats will keep evolving, right? And that's why organizations need to stay proactive. It's important that they adapt quickly. And as I said, build trust in every single layer of their IoT ecosystem.
Well, really optimistic note there, and food for thought as we head into Black Hat and DEF CON and other events this year. What are you excited about over the next few weeks and months? Where are you traveling? Where can people meet you and learn more?
Yeah, so there's a Mobile World Congress that is coming up in the coming days, Americas, right? Of course, there is the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona that we are meeting. We have a bunch of IoT events in different sectors, right? What we realize is that to make sure that the industry is educated on those points, we're actually now actively participating on specific events, either for healthcare or for utilities, like Distributech, because that's a way that we can meet those players and get to learn their challenges and explain to them how we can support them, right? I mean, when people hear about the eSIM, they think that's what is that and how I can implement. They're used to the plastic SIMs, and that's where we are to help them, right? I mean, it's from the design, helping them to integrate that seamless to their device, provide some components that they can help them to use that piece not only as a connectivity management, but also identity. So we're excited. Myself and my team, we are participating in different events in the coming months and weeks to really tackle that challenge that we as an industry, we face for the future.
Fantastic. Well, thanks very much. Really important work, and wishing you and all of us luck in that regard. Thanks for joining, and look forward to meeting you at Mobile World Congress or one of the many events out there.
Sounds good, Ivan. Thank you for having me here and to explain the exciting work that we're doing at Thales with IoT.
Thank you. And thanks, everyone, for listening, watching, sharing this episode, of course, and check out our new TV show, TechImpact.tv, now on Bloomberg and Fox Business. Thanks, everyone.
Take
care.